Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Residential appraisers can identify energy ratings and green certifications with Sandra Adomatis. A little bit about the Florida Green Building Coalition. The Florida Building Coalition is a third-party green building certification program designed to move Florida forward. To date, we have over 300 members, 40,000 projects certified within the state. We are a state-specific criteria-focused program with flexible scoring. We are a nonprofit, and we've been in business for over 24 years. Today's webinar will be recorded and available via the FGBC website as well as the FGBC YouTube channel, and that's floridagreenbuilding.org. Today, we're really excited to have Sandra Adomatis here to talk about some new tools that will help us to properly value green certified properties and high performance housing. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Sandra. And if anyone has any questions along the way, just use the question and answer tab and we'll get to those as soon as we can. Thank you. Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you, CJ. I appreciate that intro. I'll try to get my slide deck pulled up here. There we go. All right, that looks like, hopefully you can all see the slide deck now, the first page there. I want to say that it's always an honor to be here. We have a new appraisal report format that's coming out. It will be beta tested in September of this year, and it's for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and eventually FHA and VA will adopt it as well. So it will be mandatory for all appraisers to use for the secondary market as of January or November of 2026. So they're still working on the implementation from the technology side. The report itself is pretty much laid out. They're working on some guidelines and training for appraisers. So I think it's also important that realtors and builders, green raters, HERS raters understand the changes that are there that will really make your life much easier, I think, if we can have the data available. So with that, I'll move right into the presentation here. So let's first start out about what is the role of the professional appraiser. As many of you know, we have a lot of guidelines that we have to follow. Just as builders have to follow the building codes, we as appraisers have to follow what we call the Uniform Standards of Professional Appraisal Practice. We also have lender guidelines that overlay with that, as well as secondary mortgage market guidelines. So with those guidelines, the appraiser has to be able to understand all of them and apply it to the appraisal problem at hand. We are always to be an unbiased party. In other words, I don't come up with a value just because I'm friends with someone or I like this builder or that builder. I have to look at the data and let the data, which is the market, tell me what the value is. And it's important that your appraiser not only have expertise in education for the green or energy efficient homes, but they should be from your local market. In other words, I've pretty much stayed in about 3 county area in appraising because I don't feel confident going out into other parts of the country doing appraisals. And when I do studies in other parts of the country, I hire local appraisers to do those. So with this new format, the appraisal format, there's still 3 approaches to value. And they all 3 require data, which is where you come in very important. When you understand what the appraiser needs, you can make sure it's available to them. You can assist in making sure that they have all that they need. So sales comparison approach, the cost approach, and income approach, still on the new format. This is a website that I promote to appraisers because it has a large amount of data from a large amount of sources. And I know Florida Green Building Coalition downloads your certifications into the Green Building Registry. At this point, it's still a free registry, and it provides what I call a heat map. When we do appraisals, the underwriters or the secondary mortgage market wants to know, is this product accepted in the market? And one great way to show that is to be able to show a heat map that shows all the little dots of where these homes with energy efficient or green features are located. And this is a great resource for doing that. And this also allows us to download at least a page of the Green Addendum, which is a good communication tool for the appraisers. I also encourage the appraiser that if you can't find a sale in the MLS, go to the Green Building Registry, put in the city, and then look for homes that have been certified or have these features. And then go back to your MLS and see if you can find that address in the MLS, which takes a lot of time for the appraiser. But eventually, I think we'll get our data more in one source. The MLS is improving, and this Green Building Registry is growing with the amount of data that's inserted. So here is an example. This is one from Georgia. I'll show you one a little later from Florida. But if I went into the Green Building Registry and I clicked on this little dot in the Georgia area in Atlanta, and it pulled up an address of a home that has a 68 HERS rating. And then if you click on the download addendum, it'll download one page from the addendum. And I'll show you that on the next page. I would encourage you, if you're working with appraisers, take this PowerPoint, which will, in a PDF format, will be provided to you, and give that to the appraiser. Don't assume every appraiser has had education or truly understands where all the data free resources are. You can help them learn about that and encourage them to get into a class. They really should have the education before they accept the assignment. But that isn't always the case. So let's talk about important changes to the mortgage appraisal. I think this is another area that I want you to listen closely, because a lot of changes are happening and you need to understand how it might affect the appraised value or your transaction if you're a realtor out there listening to this. In appraisal modernization, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA have come up with some new terminology or new ways of doing the appraisal process. They're using artificial intelligence, and I will say that the Appraisal Institute, we are implementing artificial intelligence into our educational offerings and to our customer service as well. Artificial intelligence is here to stay. It's not going away. Appraisers need to learn to use it and be sure that they understand it and that they are using it in a way that is secure. In appraisal modernization now, they are implementing waivers and property data reports. And I'll talk more about that as we move on with the property data reports. Waivers means they're not even requiring an appraisal. In those cases, it's typically on a refinance. So somebody's refinancing their home and they've got a good credit score, and they're not trying to borrow a lot of money compared to the automated valuation model, which is a model that estimates the value, kind of like a Zillow model does, but they're not using Zillow. They have their own model. And so if they say, well, we have a low risk here, we don't even need an appraisal, so they'll do the loan. So that's not something typically it's going to be concerned, the builder or the realtor is going to be concerned with. Property data reports, you will be. There's something called hybrids out there. So you may end up getting an appraisal where the appraiser never ever went to the job site. So what they do is they hire a property data collector. We'll call them PDCs. You'll hear them referred to as. The property data collector typically is not an appraiser, has not had appraisal courses in most cases, may have had some training, and in many states, most states now, there is no jurisdiction that oversees them. In other words, with an appraiser, if I do a bad job and somebody turns me into the state appraiser board, then I have to answer to that state appraiser board. They could fine me or take my license. With a property data collector, it's not true. So the hybrid is where they may hire a property data collector to go out to the site and do a property report. They're measuring it, they're taking pictures, they're using scanning programs where they'll scan the inside of the house. It will draw a floor plan for them. They'll upload the details of that to what they call a property data report. The lender will then look at that property data report and decide, do we actually need an appraisal? If they do need an appraisal, then they will hire an appraiser, a certified appraiser, to do the analysis or complete the report. Without ever having to go out, they have to rely on the property data report. Now, if the appraiser says the property data report is not complete, I have problems understanding it, then they could go back to the lender and say, we need something better than this. But what I want to emphasize to you is that hybrid may not be your best friend. Remember I said the PDC, or property data collector, is not an appraiser. Do you think they're going to be able to identify green features or energy efficient features if they haven't had training in that area? So that's something I want you to encourage your borrower when they go to the lender to ask the lender, are you going to hire an appraiser, or will you be using a property data collector? Because if you're using a property data collector, it might not be the most accurate appraisal, because this is a special appraisal or a special property that has green and energy efficient features. It's something you're going to have to advocate for yourself, train the borrowers for. So that's, and then the new UAD redesign, or the new URAR, I think this is what we'll use for what we call the traditional appraisal. They'll use it for the hybrids as well, but you'll be able to see that the appraiser did not inspect, because there'll be a checkbox that said he didn't inspect or she did not inspect. The new URAR does have some special features on there for green and energy efficiency, which I'll share with you. So here's kind of how this new modernization of appraisals work. The reason they came up with this new modernization is back when COVID was around, we had a lot of refinances going on. And then, as you well know, in a lot of areas, the appraisers could not go in homes in most cases. And so they have this high volume, and they have to be able to keep the money market going. So they came up with a new value acceptance, which is the waiver, or the value determination, which says, well, I'm going to hire a property data collector and then maybe a certified appraiser, combine the two to come up with the appraisal or the valuation. Or they may hire a desktop, which means the appraiser never went out to the job site. Or the traditional, which is what you want if you're doing a green or energy efficient home. The traditional appraisal is where the appraiser who's certified inspects the property and actually writes up the report. So that's the one that you want to make sure if you're looking at a green and energy efficient home. This hybrid appraisals were announced. They're expanding them up to 97% loan to value ratio, which means that you're going to see a lot more hybrids in the future than we saw in the past. They say they're more accurate, but I'm here to tell you on the green and energy efficient features, or a home that's unusual, a complex home, a really large home, a home with unusual features, the hybrid appraisal may not be your friend. The third party performs the data collection that we talked about and does a property data report that goes to the appraiser who does the appraisal report. GSEs will offer option of hybrid for many transactions when an appraisal is still required. And again, waivers, we'll probably see more waivers if we get to a point where the volume's really high and we don't have enough appraisers to handle the volume in a local market. Now, we are an aging population in our profession. The typical age is somewhere in the 60s. Some people say 58 to 62, somewhere in that range, not sure exactly. At one time, we had over 100,000 appraisers, individual appraisers in the US. Today, we have about 66,000, we think. And probably 20% of those are over 60. So as they retire, we need new people coming into the market. So this is another way of the GSEs doing trying to find a way to handle volume if we don't get enough appraisers coming into the market. So here's Fannie Mae's rule on the property data collector. They say that for property data collectors, lenders must at a minimum ensure that annual background checks are done and evidence that the data collector has successfully received professional training for property data collection and fair housing law compliance. Lenders must also have procedures for suspending or terminating business with individual property data collectors. So again, it's all in the hands of the lender who wants the volume. So that's, I'm just warning you to be careful, be on guard. If they're using a property data collector, make sure that you feel like they understand what they're doing and understand the green energy features. I think I've explained the hybrid and the desktop. And the third one that we didn't talk about, I just mentioned slightly, is the automated valuation model. The GSEs have, for several years now, many years now, uploaded all appraisals, pulled the data off the appraisals, so they have a really large database. And they've even combined that database in many cases with resident HERS ratings. They worked out a deal with resident to download into their portal so that they know which of the properties have HERS ratings. Why did they do that? Because the current appraisal form that they have does not identify HERS or energy ratings as a specific field. So it was hard for them to create that into their database. So the automated valuation model is basically software with algorithms that estimates the value based on the data they have in their portal. Now, how robust are energy and green features in most databases? Still lacking. Now, we're doing better than they did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 16 years ago when I first started learning more about this product. But we still have a long way to go. So if those involved in listing, lending, and the appraisal process do not have knowledge of the free public databases to identify high-performing homes, it is highly unlikely that an appraisal modernization will be your friend. So that's really what I want to get across to you today. But you can help with that. I'm not saying it's all wrong, because there are times when probably appraisal isn't needed. If I were refinancing my home and I had a lot of equity in it and I have a great credit score, it probably would burn me to have to pay $400, $500, $600 for an appraisal when why? The risk would be low for me. But there are other areas where if it's new construction or home with special features and they're wanting to hire a hybrid with a property data collector, I'd be a little worried. The selling guide. Now, the selling guide for Fannie Mae makes it very clear that appraisers are to identify energy efficient features. They have to be recognized, identified in the report, and analyzed to identify whether do they require an adjustment? Do they sell for more because they have these features? So in order to do that, the appraiser needs the data. And then the guide says they must compare energy efficient features with comparable sales. Well, that means they have to look at comparable sales to identify, do they have these green features? So most MLSs are not complete enough with HERS or green features. And so they need to go to the resident database or the Green Building Registry or the Green Building Coalition Registry or NGBS. And you're going to have a hard time finding an appraiser that's going to search every one of those free databases to find the information that they need. So that's why it's important for us to try to get more and more of this into the multiple list and make it readily available. I posted something on LinkedIn a couple months ago and made the comment and showed some free resources for appraisers and said the new URAR will require the appraiser to identify energy efficient and green features. Here are some free resources. I got an email from one of the GSEs saying, we don't require it. And I said, yes, if you look at your guideline, you do. And they said, well, only if the data is available. If it's not available, then how can we require it? So I said, well, I just pointed you to the free resources where you can find that information. They go, oh, we didn't read that carefully. So again, education is going to be very important. What is the appraisal option to ensure high-performing features are considered the traditional? Is a certified residential appraiser on the resident appraisal portal? Are they aware of the Florida Green Building Coalition database? Right now, I can tell you that resident has only 3,700 appraisers registered to go into the appraiser portal to find HERS ratings. There's how many appraisers are doing work for the GSEs? About 30,000. So you can see how many appraisers don't even have access because they haven't signed up for it. They haven't taken the class to know about it. So you can help them identify where they can find these resources. I know Florida Green Building Coalition has a lot of data on your database, but one thing I like about hers is I can go into the appraiser portal, the special portal for appraisers. I can click that download. I can search by city. I can search by specific address or zip code. Then I can load all the HERS ratings I find into an Excel spreadsheet. I can't do that on the Florida Green Building Coalition website, I don't believe. If I'm wrong, stop me. But by doing that, then I can download my sales from the MLS or listings and merge the addresses to find out how many of those that have sold have green ratings or energy efficient ratings. That's the one thing I like about it. I can't download from the Green Building Registry either. Now, this is a clip from the new URAR report. Remember I said in September, they're going to start beta testing it with a small group of appraisers. In other words, they'll try to work out the bugs. And then in November of 2026, November 1st, I believe is the right date, it will be required for all appraisers to use this format. And it says on certification, this is the appraiser certification that every appraiser has to sign on every report, says I meet credential requirements for this assignment as of the date of this appraisal report and have knowledge and experience in appraising this type of property in this market. Again, that's where you can point back to the appraiser, ask them questions when they call to make an appointment. Have you had education in green or energy efficient homes? Have you experienced appraising them in the past? If they have not, they're not qualified. You need to go back to the lender and ask them to send somebody who has had education and experience. So here we have here's a clip from the new URAR. And this is the sales comparison approach, just a small clip. The sales comparison approach is pretty long now with a lot of detail. And it's dynamics, meaning that if there's a field that is required, it'll show up if it's described in the description of the improvements, then it flows over and there will be a field in the sales comparison. So here you can see the energy efficient and green features. They say efficiency rating. This one has, the subject has a HERS 62 and one of the comparable two has a 61. The other two do not. Now they've got 0 in here. Don't pay attention to that. So they just put some numbers in. They said this is just for examples. This came from Fannie Mae directly. And if you had a Florida Green Building Coalition certification, then that would be on the description of improvements. And then it would show up here under energy efficiency rating. It would say green certification. And then you would have to look up, do your comps have that? And then you have to analyze to determine, did it sell for more because of that? So here's the URAR page where there's one page dedicated now to energy efficient and green features. So they're asking about renewable energy components like solar photovoltaic systems, solar water heating, wind, geothermal, anything of that nature. This is the page you would describe it on. And if it shows up on this page, it flips over to the sales comparison approach. It's also asking about energy ratings. It can be a HERS rating, a home energy score, any Building Performance Institute scoring. And then it asks you to show a graphic. Now, here on the bottom, you'll see on the right, I pulled up from the Green Building Registry, one that was certified by the Florida Green Building Coalition. And I've got it highlighted there in the red box. And then on the left side, I've got the HERS rating for that home. And it's in Punta Gorda, where I live. We have a HERS rating of 60. If you go to the MLS, you'll probably find that this was not identified in the multiple list. So again, this is why it's so important. Now, the ideal thing that we want to put in here is take the certificate from the Florida Green Building Coalition certificate and make a JPEG of it. And then that has to go on this page. Fannie and Freddie now, instead of having lots of addendums, they want on each page, they want graphics, pictures, graphics that identify these features. So if you have a certificate, there needs to be a way the appraiser can pull it from your website. So here we have, this is the property I just showed you on the prior page. And on the left-hand side, when I clicked on I'll go back one and show you. When I clicked on, it says download the addendum down here on the bottom. When I clicked on that, it gave me one page of the green addendum. It didn't give me all pages, but at least gave me a start. But it doesn't give me the details of the energy features. It does talk about green certification and the HERS rating. So at least that's better than we had before. So there's the websites where we can find some of this information. Now, also we have tips to move the high-performing market forward. Encourage builders to upload their high-performance home features to the Green Building Registry. That's one large registry. I'm encouraging Florida Green Building Registry to allow us to be able to download these like we can from ResNet. That would make it easier for the appraisers. Raters, whether you're an energy rater or a green rater, offer a value-added service. Complete the green addendum. Now you say, well, if that's in the appraisal report now, why do we need the green addendum? The green addendum is a communication tool. And if we had that on every comparable that we had that had energy or green features, we would be able to identify how comparable are they. One may have a lot more green features than another. Right now, green certified, we may have a color, a bronze, whatever your colorings are. Are they equal in the market? Does the buyer know the difference? And the green addendum really is something that should be attached to the sales contract. And I really recommend that, because if you attach it to the sales contract, then that identifies to the lender that I need to hire an appraiser that has education and experience in that property type. So that's one way to make sure it happens. So ResNet has been working with software companies to provide a link where, like in appraisal software companies, software that I use, if I go in and I'm writing a report and it gets to the energy section, I can click on that and it'll ask me, do I want to pull in the HERS rating? So there's only 2 software companies I'm aware of that have done that. You, as Florida Green Building Coalition, could do the same. There's nothing better than having auto-population from the direct source. In other words, that helps with that human error of typing in the wrong number or the wrong thing, if you could auto-populate it. So if you're interested, if Florida Green Building Coalition is interested in talking to some software companies about doing the same thing that ResNet's doing, let me know and I can connect you to a couple of folks that can talk to you about the possibility.
Please, Sandy, we do have the ability to do that right now. And so at the Florida Green Building Coalition, we do have a database of every home, and we do have the download of all the green features associated with that home. And we have a public site that is under development so that the public can actually log in and put the address. But in the meantime, you can simply email us at info@floridagreenbuilding.org, and we could be very happy to send you the download of a specific home.
Okay, but you're not auto-populating to appraisers software companies.
No.
No, that's what ResNet's doing now with 2 of the software companies.
Gotcha. So that would be probably an easy fix for us to have some kind of a component that would auto-populate our green features into that form. So
yeah, that would be great. And if you like, CJ, I could connect you to a couple that are already doing that. I know that ResNet typically doesn't charge to do. I guess that's API. That's for you technical people to figure out. But yeah,
I'd be happy
that would be great.
Talk about it. While I've got a break here real quick, I'll just answer a couple questions. The recording for this will be published and it will be sent to all the attendees in a follow-up email. Peggy Chris says that sellers complete the addendum and attach the green certification and back up to the MLS as attachments. Mm-hmm. And then she also says we're trying to get ResNet to auto-populate into our MLS. Will this help the appraisers?
Yes, absolutely. And I know Ryan Mears is the fellow at ResNet that's been working with the MLSs to make that happen. So if you're having difficulty with that, Peggy, let me know and I'll get you to the right people or see what the problem is. Yeah.
We're good for questions for now.
Okay, good. So there are some green choice or energy efficient mortgages out there. The other thing I will remind you of, I did a webinar recently for a building consulting company, and they were quite interested in energy efficient mortgages. As the interest rate has gone up, now we're going back to how can we get a better rate for green or energy efficient homes. Remember that when Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac sell these homes on the secondary market, they bundle those that have a HERS rating so that they can get a better interest rate when they resell that mortgage. So it's to their advantage to make sure that the appraisals identify these. So Freddie Mac has what we call the Green Choice Mortgage. It allows up to 97% loan to value ratio or 105% for some of those purchase transactions. You can go to Freddie Mac's website to learn more about that. You've also got the home style mortgage, which has interest rates that may change periodically, but they're adjustable. They're typically a little lower than the standard conventional rate. HUD and FHA also have an energy efficient mortgage, and VA also has one. VA's been trying to, I don't know what's going to happen with the new administration, but they've been working on a policy to increase the veterans' ability to purchase homes that have energy and green features. So hopefully that will happen shortly. So tips to maximize your value on your homes. Rule number one, to maximize your sale price and the appraised value, if you don't advertise the high-performing features, don't expect the buyer to pay more for them. That builds a database that says they are not worth more. A database like the MLS that shows code-built homes without high-performing features sell for the same price as high-performing homes results in appraised value reflecting no value for the features. I will say that I know that Peggy Chris does a great job in listing these homes and making sure the MLS identifies all these features. There are realtors around the country that do a great job. If they've got a designation, the green designation from the National Association of Realtors, they know how to list these homes. So I encourage you, builders, if you're working with a realtor, find one that has the NAR green designation. And I know you don't like to use the word NAR, NAR designation, NAR, NAR green. Rule number two, maximize the sale price. The HERS rating must be visible in the model home, in the listing, and on the for sale sign in the yard. If people driving by, it's part of education of the public. People driving by and they see a for sale sign that says a preliminary HERS rating or HERS rating of 43 or 58, whatever your number is, and they don't know what a HERS rating is, they'll Google it. That's what we do today. So it's a way to identify that this home is special and the competition probably doesn't have that rating. So put the preliminary ratings in the front window if you have a big, or the Florida Green Building Coalition rating, a preliminary rating, make a big poster, put it in the front window as soon as the windows are up on new construction. Again, if the buyer drives by and sees that and they're looking at other homes and say, other homes don't have that, what's this mean? They will Google it. So the sales agents have to be able to explain the HERS ratings and the green certifications. Here locally in my market, sometimes I'll go in blind to model homes and I'll say, do you do energy ratings? When I know that they do because I have access to it. And they'll look at me like I'm crazy and they'll go, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Well, do you have a HERS rating or energy rating? Is it energy efficient home? And I had the last one I went into said, we build to code here and they have energy requirements. That's not an answer. So again, if an appraiser were to be asking that, they would have a hard time saying this home is anything special other than a code built home. So HERS ready homes are accessible to the public as well. And so CJ tells me that you're having a public web link that you're going to have so the public can check to see if the Florida Green Building Coalition certification is a true certification. And I will tell you, I have run into areas when I was doing study in other markets where there were builders promoting their homes were HERS rated or green certified. When we got down to verifying it, they weren't at all. And so that the database that they were building was a false database. We don't want to see that. So again, realtors and builders, I would encourage you to make sure that potential buyers coming in, show them where they can find out where these HERS ratings are. And if the other properties that they're considering buying don't have them, this is one way for them to find out. So as I told you earlier, here's the portal where they can sign up for free. There's 3,700 appraisers right now that have signed up for it out of 30,000. There's a long way to go. So we need to encourage more people to sign up. To register, it's free. It doesn't cost anything, just like the Florida Green Building Coalition website doesn't cost for an appraiser to go on there. Green Building Registry is free. There's many websites that are free. Biggest problem we have is the appraisers getting into a class to learn what is available. Rule number 3, complete the Appraisal Institute's Green and Energy Efficient Addendum. It's a communication tool. It's a red flag. Keep a copy of the model home for the potential buyers to review. Attach it to the sales contract. Attach it to the MLS, just like Peggy says. Give one to the real estate agent and to the appraiser. When the MLS goes from a listing active status to a sold status, make sure that the attachments stay with it. I don't know what the rule is for all of Florida, but in some MLSs, they don't allow you, they pull all the attachments off once they go sold. So here is the green addendum. You can use one page or all pages. The third page here that has the solar page on it is an important one to fill out and attach the MLS because it gives the details of the solar system. If you actually want an appraiser to value the solar system, you're going to have this filled out. Otherwise, they're not even going to attempt to value the solar system in most cases, or they'll just put some number in with no support for it. If they fill out this one solar page with the details, and that you attach it to the MLS, we have it for a comp, but we can also use PV value to estimate the value of the system. So it makes it much easier for the appraiser to come up with support for their values. There's an act out there called the Green Appraisals Act. We've been lobbying for it. The Appraisal Institute has lobbied for it. ASA, which is another appraisal organization. ResNet, Pearl Certification, the Building Performance Association. And if the Florida Green Building Coalition is doing some lobbying, it would be great for you to sign on to this bill. What this bill would do would be to make sure that appraisals reflect the value of renewable and energy efficient features in a property. It identifies that the appraiser should be chosen based on their knowledge and expertise in that area. So it's something that we want to see passed. So step forward to move the market education, the public. We still have a lot of lack of information in the public. Realtors are our best source for educating the public. And builders can be most helpful in their model homes. I've seen some great model homes with really good educational posters and examples that help people understand what makes their home special. So I like to see that more builders do that. Communication amongst the entire real estate ecosystem. We've got to communicate between the builders, the lenders, the real estate agents, and the appraisers. We've gotten better in the last 16 years. I can remember 16 years ago when I first started, we were all working in silos. I'm happy to say those silos are beginning to adjoin each other. And that is what is making it better for us moving forward. But we still have a long ways to go to make it a much better market for green and energy efficient features. Quality controls to promote public trust. In other words, you as the builder or the real estate agent, make sure that when you're to educate your buyer before they go to the lender. And then when the lender hires an appraiser, help your seller to understand when they call to make an appointment that they have a right to ask them if they have knowledge and experience in that property type. If they don't, then they should go back to their lender, call the lender or call the agent, let the agent call the lender and say, we need an appraiser who has experience in this area. If they hire a property data collector, you need to question the lender. Are they aware this is a green and energy efficient property? With that, I'm going to open up for questions. We got about 15 minutes or so. So any questions there, CJ, that we need to answer?
Yeah. So Peggy, Chris said she'd be delighted to help anybody list the properties correctly. And then She also mentioned where can she get a HERS rating done on a home?
Okay, so if you go to the resident database, the resident website, they'll give you a list. You'll see raters, and you can click on your area, and it'll tell you the raters in your area. And the folks that do the green ratings for Lakewood Ranch, Babcock Ranch, I think both of those do HERS ratings as well.
And you can also check the Florida Green Building Coalition website. A lot of the certifying agents also do ratings. So,
Okay, good.
And then is the appraisal portal free for appraisers? This question says, I'm on the website and it is asking for a payment. Why is this only available to Appraisal Institute members and not all appraisers for free?
Okay, you're on the wrong click. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to send me an email, and I'll give you the right link. And it is free to appraisers, and not just to Appraisal Institute appraisers. It's any appraiser can get on the appraisal portal at no cost. And my email is adomatis@hotmail.com.
Peggy Chris says, Sandy, you've been and continue to be a true asset to the real estate world, and she thanks you very much.
Thank you, Peggy. Peggy has been too. She's a real promoter.
Any other questions before we wrap up?
Hey, CJ, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You've got a lot of properties now that are Florida Green Building certified, and a lot of them are in the MLS. I know I've ran a search for how many. If you look over a 5 or 10-year period, there's a lot of them that have sold and resold. It would be nice. Have you had anybody to take a look at it to see if they can come up with any statistics on do they sell quicker? Do they sell for more? Anything of that nature?
It'd be something we should look into probably. I know that we're looking into the differences in water efficiency and energy efficiency compared to homes that are not in nearby neighborhoods. So I know we're doing that. We're doing that with some of the utility companies. But yes, it'd be interesting to see if we can look at that. So that's something that I'll look into.
That's great. And please repeat for me your can we download now a list of sales that are a list of Florida Green Building certified homes in a particular city or market? Can we download that into Excel or no?
Well, so we are part of the Green Building Registry, so we do share our data with them. We also have a search feature on our website where you can actually go to our website and search a city, and you can get all of the properties that have been certified by the FGBC. But if you want specific credits that were claimed for a certain house, if you email us, we can send you that checklist. Peggy does a great job of doing that with when she's selling a property, and we turn that around to her so that she has the full list of all the credits associated with the property.
Yeah, so that's really not what I'm asking. In other words, I know you put them in the Green Building Registry, so that's where we'd have to get a heat map from.
Right.
Then. Yeah. Okay.
Or you can go to our site and put in a zip code, and it'll also it'll pop up with the homes that are in that zip code or in that city.
But it doesn't do the heat map. That's
doesn't
what
do the heat map. No. Yes. You would have to know where the address is. Correct.
Not a problem. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then there's one other question. Is it possible to get a copy of the appraisal form, or will it be in the slides?
The appraisal form. It's not in the slides, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send CJ a PDF of the new form that you can attach to the PDF of the PowerPoint. How's that?
Sure, we'll do.
Okay. All right.
I believe there's a couple more here. Peggy Chris says we need to get realtors on board in Lakewood Ranch at Babcock Ranch to list green certifications. And then Jenny Basanta says, also, will the new form include FGBC, LEED, and other rating systems?
Yes. It'll just say green ratings, and then you type in what the rating is, Florida Green Building Coalition, what the certification is. If it has points, you put the points in. So that's why I say the new form is dynamic. It allows us to extend and add in those things where the form we've had for, I don't know, 30 years or 35 years didn't have that feature. And now that, so that makes it a searchable field for the GSEs as well.
Great. And Peggy Chris says she ran into an inspector that specializes in solar. So if you need somebody, reach out to Peggy.
Yeah, good.
I think that's it. So I wanted
All
to
right.
thank you again, Sandra, for all your wisdom and expertise with regards to appraisals and all you do to help us further green building in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.